everyone, it's Claire, and today I just want to go over my personal Meyers Briggs personality just so that you guys can get to know me better. I am an INFP in the Meyers Briggs personality, so whether you are an INFP yourself, or if you just want to get to know me, or maybe if you want to learn about an INFP in your own life and learn how they tick, this will be a great video for you to gain some insight on the INFP personality. While you're here, go ahead and subscribe to this channel for more videos on self-help and improvement, and hit that bell to be notified for future videos so that you can stay up to date every time I upload a new video. And for those of you who already know me, now we're gonna go ahead and just talk about the INFP personality. INFP stands for introvert, intuitive, feeling, and perceiving. So as an INFP, first of all, I do find myself drawn to being alone. Now that's not all the time. I love hanging out with people, I love being social, but I also need time to recharge. I'm always interested in just doing my own thing, whether that's researching or writing or painting or making YouTube videos. And sometimes after I've been around people for a significant portion of time, and that could be like a week straight where I'm talking to people all the time, texting, going out in public and being around them, then I might need a full week of just kind of doing my own thing, not really talking to people that much. And other times I might have one day to do my own thing and I will want more interaction with people. Also, as an INFP, I find that we are very creative. So that could either mean with music inclinations or drawing or painting or writing. I have always loved being creative in so many different ways. I love to paint, to write. I've always had journals. I've always loved writing. It's like one of my biggest passions, and that I think is why I like to research self-help topics, because I get to write about them and I get to compile outlines for videos and things like that. I love to write poetry as well, so that's another thing, just being really creative and really expressive. I feel like INFPs have so much inner depth and inner expression that because of our introvert nature, sometimes we don't let it out verbally because it's just not natural for an introvert to talk a lot and be super outgoing all the time. So our innermost feelings and our innermost being is usually best expressed through creative outlets. So that would be writing, poetry, drawing, painting, music, etc. So that's kind of how I feel, is like sometimes I will be interested in talking about something, but I won't be able to fully express it verbally until I've written it down or until I have actually had a creative outlet. Speaking is not my main strength. I had to really work on my speaking, and I used to be very shy. I used to not be able to speak, but I've always been really great at writing, and that's one of the best ways that I express myself as an INFP. So I feel like INFPs might have trouble expressing themselves verbally, and maybe it's better to write letters to them or ask them to write letters to you or talk via text message, and then you might be able to get more information about how they're feeling. A third thing about being an INFP is they tend to be pretty sensitive with people's feelings. So they are sensitive not only with their own feelings, but also how other people are feeling. So for example, I am always very, very aware of other people and their emotions and their reactions and how they're feeling in any given situation. So even though I might seem pretty neutral on the outside, because INFPs sometimes might seem aloof, or maybe they just don't seem like they're really fully engaged, they're actually very passionately involved internally about everything that's going on. So they might be able to notice different nuances in how someone else is acting, and they might take it personally and actually think that they did something wrong or that the other person is attacking them in some way. And that could be completely misguided, it could be just their own sensitivity, but that's where that comes into play a lot. And because of this sensitivity, INFPs are prone to stall on conflict, and they don't like confrontation, they don't like to bring up things that are bothering them as much, and this could actually cause more problems, because when you have an issue and you don't speak about it, it's just going to lead to resentment. The other person involved isn't going to know what's going on. They aren't going to be aware that there is a problem. And then sooner or later, as the resentment builds and you finally get to a point where you're just fed up, then it might be too late to address it in a calm and rational way. So an INFP really needs to work on expressing themselves and expressing things that are bothering them and not being afraid of having a conflict or a confrontation. The other thing that I have noticed about being an INFP and being around INFP is that we are always thinking. And we might seem from the outside, if you were to just meet an INFP, they might seem really blank or really just like neutral. And you might be like, is this person really engaged? Is this person really all here in the now? And the INFP might even seem somewhat aloof or even like cold because their emotions are all inside. But the reality is inside, they're thinking about so many things and they're feeling so many emotions and their brain is on overdrive, analyzing so many different things, analyzing the emotions and the reactions of others and their own emotions. Inside, an INFP is like constantly going, and then the outside, they just kind of look like you don't really know what they're thinking. And sometimes you might even be intimidated by them because they're quiet and they're reserved and they don't have much to say at first. So that leads me to the next portion, which is INFPs are very reserved and pretty difficult to know, generally speaking. Now, it just depends. Obviously, creatively, that's where we're able to express ourselves the most, but on the outside, it might be more difficult to get to know them. You might have to pull out information from them because they are reserved and because it is not natural for them to give out information about themselves. You have to maybe put in a little bit more effort in asking questions and trying to get to know them and being a trustworthy person for them to open up to. And INFPs are also one of the most open-minded personality types out there. We absolutely love, I mean, this is my experience, you can let me know if you agree, but we love to think about abstract ideas and concepts and thinking outside the box and spirituality and all of the deep, meaningful conversations about life and existence and philosophy and just really digging deep into that. So conversations like that are so refreshing for an INFP. If you know an INFP and you really want to impress them and get them talking, just start talking about a deep topic, something that is intriguing or something that is not widely talked about, and you're really going to spark their imagination. INFPs also have been known to be very empathetic and very emotionally aware. They also tend to be quite idealistic, so if they have a dream or a vision, or if they see someone in a certain light, they might idealize that person and they might miss out on the negative characteristics sometimes. They also love big picture thinking. So we're talking like a big vision, a grand vision, having purpose, and they are driven by this purpose. They're driven by the big picture. If they don't have a true vision and a true meaning of why they're doing something, they're going to be so unmotivated to do it. Whereas if they have a meaning behind it, and if they feel like they're doing something for a cause that they believe in, that's going to change people's lives, that's going to have an impact, then they're going to be so motivated and they're going to do everything that they can to make this happen. So that's another characteristic of an INFP, is the idealistic, big thinking, motivated by purpose. On the other spectrum, INFPs sometimes are very anti-detail. So when you have to deal with numbers or accounting or, you know, taking up all the little details and writing out every single step of something, that sometimes is just too much for the INFP to focus on, and it can really kill their mood because they're like, I want to focus on the big stuff, and here I am, I have to do all these little like details. So they tend to be in more creative fields like counseling, teaching, coaching, being artists, etc. And most likely will be staying away from accounting or things that are very detailed in nature. And lastly, one of the most interesting parts of being an INFP is, despite being introverted, we might often be mistaken for extroverts. When we're comfortable and when we can trust the people around us, we can show them our extroverted personality, which can be very excitable, very bubbly, very happy and upbeat. And so if people don't know us and they see us in this way, they might think that we are definitely an extrovert. But meanwhile, the reality is we're just comfortable around the people that we're with, so we're able to bring our personality out. And this is something that I have observed with other INFPs, and it does not seem like we're introverted at all. And yet later on, either in the evening or maybe the next day or maybe for the entire next week, we'll be doing our own thing alone, recharging from all of that social time. And then we'll be having our deep internal thoughts and contemplating life on the other hand. So it's a really interesting dynamic there. So I hope that this video has helped you in some way if you know an INFP or if you were just curious about my own personality. And I would love to hear what your personalities are, because in this community I really want us to all be able to get to know each other and to feel free sharing in the comments and asking questions, sharing advice, so that we can build each other up and level up our lives together. So go ahead and like this video if you enjoyed. Comment below if you have anything else to add, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much. Bye guys.